Okay, we hit the recording button. Okay, well, welcome everybody. We're going to be talking with a one of the most unheard of groups in real estate that are really important. There's many organizations that are kind of working in the background that aren't really visible on the work that they do, but they're very important to our work in helping with seniors. And this is one such organization. It's a group of realtors. Now, don't hold that against them. I'm sorry, they're lawyers that are acting for the seniors and doing specific things with different senior communities. And I think they'd be able to explain it a little bit better than what I did there. So I'm going to turn it over to, well, who's going to be first now, I guess.
I can do it first.
Okay, and Bia will be the kickoff. So go ahead.
All right. Thank you, Skip. Hi, everyone. I'm Bea Oliva. I'm from California Advocates for Nursing Home Reform. My title is the Advocacy and Lawyer Referral Specialist. I provide information to consumers and professionals alike on Medi-Cal eligibility, long-term care residents' rights, and I also manage the estate planning side of our lawyer referral service. And today I am with my colleague, Arabelle Malinis. Arabelle, did you want to go ahead?
Sure. Thanks, Bea. My name is Arabelle Malinis. I'm a staff attorney at CANHR. I have over 16 years of experience as an attorney. Mainly for the half of that time, I was a trust and estates and probate. And so I did deal with a lot of seniors and their family in the advanced planning and post-death administration and some litigation. And I also, so that I've transferred that to CANHR and advising consumers. Also, I do presentations and provide technical and advocacy support with legal services attorneys and their staff at Legal Aid. I do legislation concerning consumer protection, mainly currently like elder fraud. So, and we all work together in, the advancing the rights of older adults in California.
Thanks, Arabelle. And so I'll get started. Let me just share my screen. Um, okay. Actually, yeah, I think that should be okay. Can everyone see the slideshow?
Yep, you're good.
Okay, perfect. Okay. And for those that are just joining in, Arabelle and I will go over the slides first, and then we'll accept questions at the end. Feel free to send your questions in the chat, and we'll address them. But just to make sure that we go over everything in time. So thank you. Okay. So briefly, we are going to be talking about a very basic overview of the long-term care system to give you all an idea of the type of information we talk about.
Wow. Okay. Whoever did that, please mute.
Actually, sorry, let me stop sharing real quick. I'm not sure what happened.
I think that was Darth Vader.
Okay. Okay. All right. So,
Thank you.
yeah, no problem. So again, this is just to give you all an idea of like the information that we provide to the consumers that call our organization, as well as professionals who seek our assistance as well. Just so you have an idea of, if these topics come up with the clients that you are helping, our organization pops up in your head. So To start off, we are again California Advocates for Nursing Home Reform. We call ourselves CANHR for short. We have been around for over 40 years, and we have a statewide toll-free hotline. And although we provide services statewide over the phone, we are a small but mighty staff of about 12 people, with I believe 10 of us providing counseling information. So the topics that we cover are areas in Medi-Cal eligibility, specifically for people who are 65 years of age or older. So not necessarily like children's Medi-Cal or coverage for younger people. This is mainly for seniors or people with disabilities. We also provide information on long-term care residents' rights. So this would be for people who are in nursing homes or assisted living facilities. And then we also provide information on home care options covered under Medi-Cal. So this would be options to help people stay at home or age in place in the community. We have a lawyer referral service, and I'll go into detail about that in the next slide. And then similar to this, we provide community education and professional training. We provide training to attorneys, social workers, care managers, and every now and then we also provide town halls for consumers and family members and long-term care residents as well. On a larger scope, we also provide policy and administrative advocacy. So every year we try to push legislation to improve Medi-Cal, the quality of care in nursing homes or assisted living facilities, and any other aspect surrounding long-term care. And then lastly, we do offer litigation, but this is more like class action lawsuits where it will have a larger impact on the population that we serve. About our lawyer referral service, so I manage the estate planning side. The attorneys on our panel help people with estate planning for long-term care. And what that means is this could be from helping people become eligible who are over assets and need information on how to spend down or transfer assets in order to meet the asset limit for Medi-Cal. It could also mean estate planning to prevent Medi-Cal recovery, which is when a beneficiary could potentially, after they pass away, the state could potentially seek repayment for the services that they covered while the beneficiary was in a skilled nursing facility. We also help connect people to conservatorship attorneys and as well as special needs trust attorneys. The personal injury side, my colleague Helen Halderson, she manages this side of the lawyer referral service. There's 3 subpanels. One is for elder abuse and long-term care facilities. So if people suffered an egregious injury or if they died due to the neglect or abuse of a assisted living facility or a nursing home, we have litigation attorneys who can seek action against those facilities. There's residents' rights. This is more not necessarily injury, but more egregious violations of the residents' rights in the facility. And then lastly, elder financial abuse for seniors and elders who may have been victimized by a financial institution like a hard money lending company, scams, banks, things like that. So in the agenda, these are going to be the different types of topics we will cover. Arabelle's going to kick it off with facility types available here in California and the eligibility to get into those facilities as well as payment options.
All right, thanks, Bea. So the first thing we were asked to go over how to search for long-term care. You probably have encountered that with your clients or their family members. And so the important thing is understanding the licensing designation for the types of facility, because for many people, they believe it's interchangeable and it's not. So the first thing, there's a difference between residential care facilities for the elderly, which I'm going to first go over, and and nursing homes, skilled nursing facilities. So as far as residential care facilities, they are intermediate step between independent living and skilled nursing facilities. It can range between 6 beds, up to 6 beds to 200 beds. The smaller RCFEs, that's what the acronym commonly called. It's called board and care, and they are licensed to up to 6 beds. And beyond that, it's called assisted living facility. And for memory care designation, it's still under the umbrella of RCFEs, but it's for people that have dementia. So they might have, delayed egress and entrance in the wing where the assisted living or the memory care is. But it's still it's typically within the unit of like assisted living, and there's a separate unit for memory care. So what RCFEs typically provide, it's non-medical. It's usually custodial. Over the age of 60, they provide room, board, plus care and supervision. Um, and the board care fees cover meals and assistance with eating, dressing, housekeeping, hygiene, bathing, transferring, like mobility wise. Typically, it's for, again, the 60 and over population, and it's for people that are unable to live independently, but not need nursing level of care. Next slide. Oh, a prohibited condition. So I do want to touch upon like the difference with like custodial, because it is more custodial and non-nursing care. So this is for people that need personal care services who are unable to like maybe have limitations on what's called activities of daily living. So, self-care tasks, including the bathing, dressing, toileting, and mobility, eating sometimes, or helping, or even preparing food. So now, as far as what's allowed and prohibited, because again, this is a licensed facility, and I'm going to go over how to search for them on the agency's website. So what's allowable? Um, but restricted. So there are still people with more complex health medical needs that are allowed to reside, including people with oxygen masks, diabetes, incontinence, catheter care, colostomy, what is it, leostomy care, non-ambulatory bedridden residents could still be at an RCFE, even terminally ill residents, but the facility must obtain a separate hospice waiver. There are prohibited health conditions that's set forth under the state regulation, and that means that they wouldn't be able to reside in an RCFE. This includes stage 3 and 4 pressure injuries, so pressure sores, feeding tube, staph infection or serious infections, and all the others that are listed in this slide.
Yeah.
Next
And I
slide.
just wanted,
Oh,
sorry, I
okay.
just wanted to add too. So the reason that there are allowable and prohibited health conditions is when someone is in an RCFE, because it is a non-medical facility, and the purpose is to provide like that intermediate step between living independently at home and in a nursing facility. There's only so much that an RCFE can care for. And so if the needs of a resident exceeds what the RCFE can manage, that would be an allowable reason for the RCFE to possibly move forward with an eviction, for example, because they wouldn't be able to take care of the resident anymore. So that is why there's like allowable and prohibited health conditions.
And they could also be cited if they accept this because they are licensed. So the licensing agency could cite them.
Mhm.
Okay, let's go to RCFE payment sources. So mainly with RCFEs, with just long-term care in general, it's really expensive. It is private pay. And it says median cost is around 7,000. It does really depend on the types of RCFEs. With board and care, it's a little less because it is 6 beds and under. There's less services and activities. The bigger the assisted living, the more activities they provide, it justifies the cost that's added to that. And there's also, in addition, with assisted living facilities, they have the care services in addition to the board and care. So while there's board and care fees are set, the care services is based on the medical needs of the person. So they are assessed initially at admission, and then whatever, if there's a change in health condition, they could get reassessed, and that could and depending on the increased needs, the cost could go up, and it typically does, and that becomes unaffordable for a lot of people. Because as you know, it's 7,000 a month initially, but there's a fall, there's a UTI infection that leads to hospitalization. It could go to 10,000, 15,000, and people deplete their assets. Um, so the source of payment, typically it's private. There, people sometimes have long-term care insurance that they've been paying over the course of many, many years, and they could activate that. They have their own set of conditions in order to activate that. There are ways for Medi-Cal to pay for that. So Medi-Cal is the means-tested government benefits that have strict eligibility criteria, including an income cap and asset cap. And we're not going to go over that, but the information is provided in detail in CANHR's fact sheet on our website. So there are mainly two types of program. The assisted living waiver program, again, this is Medi-Cal. A person must meet the eligibility criteria. So an income of 18, currently at 2026, year 2026 is 1,836 per month. So it's very low income people. There's a very long wait list, sometimes 2, 3 years, especially, and it's only limited to specific counties. Mainly, it's the bigger counties around the state. So the Bay Area, many counties and areas are included. LA County, but it's not available for all counties. And it's really hard. I mean, people can be on the wait list for a prolonged period of time. So there's another program under Medi-Cal called CalAIM Assisted Living Facility Transition. Now, this is run by the health plan. So if a person very low income meets the Medi-Cal no share of cost category, it's run by health plans. And an example is Kaiser or Anthem. And so they run this. It's optional program. Each health plan could have this program. They may not. They have their own system on how to enroll people, how the eligibility. There's very little because it's run by the health plan. It's a fairly new program. It's been around for 2, 3 years. There's not much consumer protection available for the members under this program. And there have been cases recently where the health plan has dropped services. So including the assisted living facility transition. So again, there are limited ways that Medi-Cal can pay. And another thing with these programs is because federal law prohibits payment of Medicaid dollars to board care or to board care. So in this instance, they can't pay for the room and board. So a person that's in this program must have income, and however income, it's typically 90% for the assisted living facility transition. It varies. And then assisted living waiver program, they do have a fee schedule. One for SSI, people who receive SSI, and the other group that are non-SSI, and they're typically between 1,400 and 1,500. So that's the board care fee, the responsibility of the person, and then the remaining amount, the healthcare services part, are paid for by Medi-Cal.
Can you define SSI for us?
Supplemental security income. So those are the people that really didn't that are disabled that didn't pay into the Social Security retirement system.
Thank you.
Yeah. So with the SSI, there is under state law, the RC fees are required to provide the basic rate, the SSI rate for people who receive SSI. So that's another kind of protection for people who receive because they're very, very low income. It gives people and really low income people that need this type of care, at least housing. So there is some legal protection on a state level for SSI recipients. Searching for RCFEs. So I've linked. So what we're going to do is actually provide this PowerPoint slide so you can have this as a resource. So the way you search for this, I've linked the facility search. It's through the department. So the state agency, the California agency that license and regulates RCFEs. It's Department of Social Services, a Community Care Licensing Division, in short, CCLD. And this is the best way to actually search for licensed facilities in California. Although there are private companies that actually provide this, it's that I wouldn't rely on that. I mean, a lot of times these companies that a lot of people search on their website, while it might be free for them, usually it's the facilities that pay them. And sometimes they advertise, they have a way of advertising facility, like to promoting certain facilities without regard to safety or, the level of complaints. So the most reliable source to search is through the actual licensing and regulatory agency. So,
Oh,
okay.
sorry, I just wanted to add to that too. So, like for the placement agencies, we understand that sometimes, people just don't know where to start, and that's probably going to be the easiest place for the first step. But we do recommend that whatever facility the placement agency recommends, to use this database to do some research, because this database, you'll see, will also include investigatory history
Sure.
for that specific facility. Okay, and Arabelle, you want me to go on the next slide?
Yes, please.
Okay.
So you can search for the assisted living and the types. And so the previous slide, actually, you can click on that. And here, what you can do is just either, if you have if you have a facility in mind, right, as a recommendation from people, or from a search online, you can verify licensing, the information about the facility. Or what you can do is search generally by county or by zip code. Next slide. So if it's by county and it was searched by, it was Alameda County, this is just a partial listing. And we just, because CANHR is in Alameda County, we just chose that. So this is a partial listing. It's pretty long, and so you can go through each one. And let's do the very first one. That's 1440. Next slide. So here, if you click onto this, it tells you the address of the facility. Then you also see their phone numbers. What's interesting is you see their license number, how long they've been licensed. So here it's since 2019. Keep in mind that a lot of these facilities, the license changes and the licensing date changes, just because what happens is that they can change licensing, and a lot of times it's because of the high number of complaints, and it's transferred into different hands, and so it's sometimes not really truly the original licensing date. So keep that in mind. The capacity, you can also see the facility capacity here. It's 175 beds, not rooms, but number of beds. And then you have the facility type. So residential care elderly. And then what's really important is that it's the licensing contact information. It's something that a person, even if they want to inquire more, can contact the county licensing agency. There's also an opportunity for someone, if their loved one is in the facility, to file a complaint if there's a violation of residents' rights. Also, what you see here are the number of visits by the state licensing agency. And as you can see, the most recent one was July 7th, 2026, and the earliest one is November 19th, 2021. This could be just regular annual visits. It could be inspections. It could be visits based on a complaint that was lodged by a resident or their family members. And then you can click on actually by just the categories of what type of visits, and it actually shows you whether it's if it's a complaint, what type of complaint. And that's really helpful too, because then you can gauge whether or not, like, you could safety and what type of, it could be a serious residence rights violation. It could be something um, dealing with, something more minor. So I always encourage people to look through the complaints, to just do their own due diligence as a savvy consumer. Next slide. So I mentioned about skilled nursing facility. So this is different from a residential care facility for the elderly. It's called nursing home, convalescent home, rehab. This is for people that need 24-hour skilled nursing care. It's mainly to stabilize people and coming from a hospital. So people get hospitalized and they go to rehab, which is a nursing home. For eligibility, they must receive a doctor's order establishing level of care, so skilled nursing level of care. And if, and I'll talk about this more at the next slide, but with regard to how Medicare and Medi-Cal, the interplay, for Medicare to pay for a skilled nursing facility, there has to be a person must be admitted in a hospital and have a 3-day hospitalization, and it has to be medically necessary. Um,
Actually, it's 3 nights.
3 nights? Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
3 nights.
Okay. Excuse me, 3 nights. Okay. So typically the law, actually, Medicaid does pay for Medicaid, or Medi-Cal in California does pay for nursing home care, because few people can afford private pay. Next slide. So the current private pay rate is around 14,440, and this is set by law, and it changes each year. And this is just the average private pay rate. So the way it works with Medicare is that once a person transfers from a hospital to a nursing home, Medicare does pay for 100 days, and a person wouldn't have any obligation from day 0 to day 20. But starting from day 21 to 100, there is a copay, and currently it's $217 per day. If a person has supplemental insurance, gap insurance, the insurance would pay from day 21 to day 100. What else is there? Medi-Cal can pay for the day 21 and beyond if a person is eligible and is on that have Medicare and Medi-Cal. And so that's how Medicare and Medi-Cal, they work together, I guess. What Medicare pays first, and then what Medicare does not pay, Medi-Cal will pay. Um, as I mentioned, for Medi-Cal to pay, they must be eligible and must qualify under an asset limit. There is an asset limit now, and there's also there's no income limit for long-term care Medi-Cal. Okay, I talked about long-term care insurance. Next slide. So searching for skilled nursing facilities. So the licensing and oversight agency, California agency, that for skilled nursing facility is the California Department of Public Health, CDPH. And they actually they enforce not just California law, but also federal law. They have a lot of there's the nursing home. There's a lot of nursing home laws that protect residents in nursing homes in the federal level, as well as the state level. So it's through Cal Health Fine, and we've provided a link on this slide. Next slide. And sorry, Bay, can you go back?
Yeah.
Forgot to add. So here there's two things that you can click on, find and compare healthcare facility. So when you click that, you can enter the type of facility. And if a person's already there, you can also click on and look for a facility to be able to find the facility to be able to file a complaint with the state agency. Next slide. So if you do find a facility, this is what comes up. And so you would search under facility type, skilled nursing. So if it's just to search for facilities in your area, like for instance, Berkeley, you would do skilled nursing facility to specify and then do a search. But if it's a facility, a specific facility, you would enter just the facility name. Next slide. So if we were just searching for location and skilled nursing facility type, this is what you would get. And there's actually more to it. And is there a question?
Keep going. Somebody had to be on mute.
Okay. So this is what you come up with. And so let's look at Ashby Care Center. This is just for Berkeley. If somebody's just searching for, skilled nursing facility in Berkeley. Next slide. And here, oh, sorry, Bea, can you turn, sorry. What's important here, and this is important, is that you see bed count. So this is a slightly smaller facility with Ashby Care. It's 31 beds. Another information that you can glean here is whether or not they accept Medicare and Medi-Cal. There are some facilities that do not accept Medi-Cal. So this is important because if someone is contemplating long-term care, Medicare, you make sure that they both accept Medicare and Medi-Cal. Next slide. So Ashby Care, we click on that, right? We see the address. We see the bed count. The license is active. They both accept Medicare and Medi-Cal. You could also see what is this? The number. I'm sorry. What is this? Sorry. Another set of information here. Oh God, I can't even see
Are you
this
talking
part.
about the complaints?
The complaints, yeah, the number of complaints here. And you can see the average number of complaints in the state and as it compares to the type of facility. Again, this is information about whether or not this facility is a good fit for the person. So just going through that, and then you can get more information about the specific the complaint types. Because even if the number of complaints actually are up, it it could be just it could be more benign, but then it's more serious even if it's lower than like the average state complaints. Then you also think about, okay, maybe it's it's a red flag. So there's a lot of information here, and you can actually look through, and then you can also look through with the dates of the complaints for each year, actually. Next slide. Oh, that's it.
Yeah, and I just want to add too, so with these two agencies and the websites that they provide, it is a helpful resource to research facilities, but I think, CANHR definitely recommends visiting the facilities in person because you're never going to actually see the quality, the cleanliness of the facility, how many staff they have, things like that, unless you see it in person. So the websites can only do so much. Definitely visit. Okay. So next I'll go over Medi-Cal eligibility. And again, we're just going to do a really brief overview. If your team or your network wishes for a more intensive training on Medi-Cal eligibility, let us know, because that in itself is a whole hour-long presentation. But I'll briefly go over it. So as Arabelle mentioned, there's a lot of information on this slide, but don't worry. This slide was more meant to be printed out and stick it in a board somewhere so that you can just refer to it, but I'll go over each one briefly. So as Arabelle mentioned, Medi-Cal is a needs-based program. There are asset limits for some of the programs and then some income limits as well. The first program that I'll talk about is called MAGI Medi-Cal. That stands for Modified Adjusted Gross Income. This program is for people between the ages of 19 and 64 years old that do not have Medicare. If they have Medicare, they will not be eligible for Magi. Magi Medi-Cal does not have an asset limit, so that means people can have $500,000 in the bank. They'll be eligible because the criteria is based solely on income rules. The income rule is, or the income cap for Magi Medi-Cal is that single individuals must have an income of 1,836 or less. And then I believe for a couple, it's 2,490. And then the size of the household, so if they have children, for example, also affects the income threshold that they are subjected to.
That changes each year?
It does change each year, yes. So for this year, that's 1836. Next year, it'll go up. From 2025 to 2026, it went up about $35. So it's very incremental. This is probably the most common type of program. Again, for people between the ages of 19 and 64 years old, if they are on Medi-Cal, they're likely on Magi. Because there is no asset limit, meaning it doesn't matter what they own. If they happen to give away assets, transfer assets, that's not going to be subject to a penalty. Now, the next 4 programs are going to be what's called non-Magi programs. In CANHR's world, non-Magi programs often refer to the programs that are going to be subjected to an asset limit. So the first non-Magi program is the aged, blind, and disabled federal poverty level. We refer to this as the no share of cost Medi-Cal. This is for people between the ages of, or who are 65 or older. But if they're younger than that, they must meet the federal definition of disabled or blind. If they don't meet that disability criteria, they will not be eligible for this program. The asset limit currently is $130,000 for a single person and then $195,000 for a couple, depending on the services that one of the spouse uses. Like, for example, if they're in a skilled nursing facility or if they receive IHSS, there may be additional asset and income protections for the couple under spousal impoverishment rules. We won't be going over spousal impoverishment because, again, that is a more intensive training. But if you are all interested, let us know. So that's the asset limit for this year. As of July 1st, 2027, next year, the asset limit is actually going to be reduced even more. So instead of $130,000 for one person, it's going to be reduced to $21,000 for one person. So significant change. The legislature agreed on it, and the governor agreed on it due to a budget shortfall. But unfortunately, that it is what it is. But the asset limit will change next year. The income cap. So eligibility for age blind and disabled, or otherwise known as no share of cost, relies solely on assets. If the person does not meet the asset limit, they are going to be denied. Let's say they are approved. The next step for the county worker is to then look at the income. The income will determine, does this person have a share of cost or not? A share of cost is the person's, it's kind of like a deductible. It's the person's out-of-pocket obligation each month before they receive coverage from Medi-Cal. To get no share of cost, you must have income of 1,836 or less if you're single, or 2,490 if you are married, or a registered domestic partner. For people who have income slightly over these limits, Medi-Cal does allow certain deductions, like health insurance premiums, for example. So like for people who are on Medicare, they usually receive the premium is usually taken out automatically from their Social Security check. And so Medi-Cal will continue to reduce, take that deduction. And then if there's dental or vision plans, things like that, that is also going to be deducted. The next program is going to be medically needy. This is what we refer to as the share of cost program. So very similar rules as the program above it. but this is for people whose income are above 1,836 or 2,490, even after all the deductions that they're eligible for. People who are on the share of cost program have, like I said, a monthly sort of deductible that they have to pay first before receiving coverage for that month. And then for the third program is the 250% working disabled program. This is another way that someone can get Medi-Cal for free without any out-of-pocket cost. And it has actually a more generous income threshold. So to be eligible for this program, the applicant must meet the federal definition of disabled, and they must be able to work. Now, with the definition of work is very loose. People can be creative with what they consider work. As long as they are providing a service in exchange for income, Medi-Cal will accept that as work. So we had one person, for example, who their family member, the recipient and his daughter made sourdough, and they sold sourdough to their friends and their family, and they used the Venmo payments as screenshots to provide proof as income. So again, they can be very creative with it. If they have an actual part-time job or things like that, that could also work. The asset limit applies to this program. So that's, again, they're going to be 130,000 for a single person and then 195 for a couple. The income threshold, though, is much higher than the other two programs I just talked about. It's going to be 3,325 for a single person. And then I don't have the number for the couple, but they have to be within the 250% federal poverty level. The part that really, I guess, is like a sticking point for this program is that if the person receives unearned income, that is, so like retirement, for example, if it's over 1,233 a month, they're not going to be eligible. Unearned income must be below 1,233. But any disability related income is disregarded. So if the only income the person receives is Social Security disability, for example, that entire award amount is not counted for eligibility purposes. There is no minimum hours or wage requirement. Again, as long as you show proof that you are providing a service or a product in exchange for income, Medi-Cal will consider that as work. If you have any more questions about this, feel free to give us a call. I actually love talking about this program because, again, it allows people, it gives people a more generous income limit while receiving free Medi-Cal. And then lastly, long-term care Medi-Cal. This is for people who are residing in a skilled nursing facility or also an intermediate care facility, an ICFDD. There's no age restriction because the eligibility is based solely on where they are at. The asset limit also applies for this program. And there's not necessarily an income cap because if the person has income, they will have to pay the majority of their income to the facility as a share of cost. So for example, let's say the person only receives $500 a month. Their share of costs will be $500 and they're only going to be able to keep $35. The remaining income is paid to the nursing home. $35 is not a lot. It's a figure that hasn't changed for years. There have been many efforts to try to increase it, but it has never gone through. When someone enters a long-term, or when someone transitions to Medi-Cal for long-term care, they will be subject to what's called a look-back period. It's a 30-month look-back period where Medi-Cal reviews any transfers or gifts that this person may have done prior to admission to the facility. This is important because if the person was living at home and they were giving away assets, the amount of that transfer may result in a period of ineligibility, which means that the person would have to pay out of pocket for a period of time while in the nursing facility. So this is why even though you are allowed to transfer assets whenever, while you're living at home, if there is even a possibility or a slight chance that the person may enter a skilled nursing facility within the next 30 months, which is of course hard to plan for, you may still want to make sure that the transfers are either not going to be subject to the penalty, or at least the amount of transfers would minimize the penalty.
There's talk about increasing the look back period to 10 years now too, but it hasn't
Yeah.
happened yet.
Right. So I think federally right now, the look back period is 5 years,
Five,
but
five,
yeah,
yeah.
but California has not implemented that, which,
Thank
goodness.
goodness.
Yeah, exactly. So we'll see. Okay. And then
That's an excellent chart, by the way.
thank you. I appreciate that. So talking about share of cost, because I think, even if the person is eligible for Medi-Cal, the share of cost almost always renders Medi-Cal useless because it's so high. Something I didn't include in this presentation is how share of cost is calculated. So for people who are living at home, you would take their gross income, you would subtract any, allowable deductions that are going to be outlined in this chart, and then the person can only keep $600 for themselves if they're a single person, or 934 if they are married. Those two figures have not changed since the 80s, which is why it doesn't accurately reflect cost of living. There have been efforts, again, to increase those figures as well, but the budget did not allow for it a few years ago, and at this point, the budget is not looking good. So I don't know that there's going to be efforts in the next few years to increase that. But with the share of costs, the person essentially has to pay almost 80% of their income towards their healthcare services, which leaves people with so little to afford their household obligations. And it essentially renders Medi-Cal useless because people would, of course, rather pay for food and shelter and maybe forego medical services instead. Now, there ways to eliminate or reduce your income to reduce the share of cost is the first one would be VA aid and attendance. For those who qualify for this award, the amount of the VA aid and attendance benefit is completely disregarded. They just need to provide a copy of the award letter. Healthcare premiums, again, are deducted from income. So this could be the Medicare premium, dental or vision plans, long-term care insurance plans, Medigap plans. They would need to provide a billing statement of the healthcare premiums to the caseworker. Hunt v. Kaiser allows unpaid medical bills to be deducted from income as well. They would need to provide a copy of the billing statement with the outstanding balance. The thing with this is that it is temporary because once that bill is paid off, then the share of costs calculation goes back to normal. And then for those living in a licensed board and care facility or assisted living, the cost of the board and care or assisted living is deducted from the share of costs as well. The Medi-Cal recipient would need to provide a copy of the admission agreement. Now, if after all of those allowable deductions, it's still not possible to get rid of share of cost, people can meet their share of cost by purchasing medical equipment, prescription drugs, medical services. There are also other costs that maybe Medi-Cal doesn't cover, but they paid for out of pocket. In-home supportive services, caregiving could be a way to meet share of cost as well. And then prescribed home care services that are not necessarily IHSS related could also be used to meet share of cost. Okay. And then lastly, I'm just going to talk about home and community-based services. So these are programs that are available for Medi-Cal recipients who can help them age in place at home or, in the community. So we included our quick guide on here, which talks about the different HCBS programs available. These programs provide caregiving services like through in-home supportive services, for example, or the Home and Community-Based Alternatives Waiver, HCBA. They provide caregiving services at home. There's assistance with chores and meals preparation. Again, that could be through IHSS, the Home and Community-Based Alternatives Waiver. The PACE program for all-inclusive care for the elderly, may also be able to provide that protective supervision. This is an extra level to IHSS that could help someone get the maximum number of hours. So if someone needs more care at home and, for example, they tend to wander or they tend to do things around the house that makes it dangerous for them to remain at home alone, they can get additional hours through IHSS or HCBA to be able to pay for that extra caregiving. Some of them can provide in-home nursing care, not all of them do. The Home and Community-Based Alternatives Waiver and possibly PACE provides in-home nursing care. I will say this is one of the limitations with some of these programs is that if you are helping someone who needs 24-hour nursing care, it may not be possible through Medi-Cal because of the limited resources of the programs. There are also certain home and community-based services that provide case management. So this would be like the multi-purpose senior services program. PACE also provides that, where it helps people connect to different vendors to ensure that they have specific home modifications, for example, caregiving, nursing care available in the home. One thing to note is that availability of these services vary from county to county. So as Arabelle mentioned earlier, the assisted living waiver program, that is an example of a home and community-based service program. It's only available in 15 counties. So, if the person is not in one of those 15 counties, they could still apply, but they have to be willing to move to that new county. In-home supportive services is available statewide, although depending on if the person already has a caregiver in place or a family or a friend who's willing to be that caregiver, the recipient has to rely on the IHSS registry. And sometimes, depending on the county that you're in, sometimes the registry is, there's not that many people available to take on new clients. And so people are kind of waiting a while before actually receiving caregiving services. And then a great thing about this too is that home and community-based services qualify couples for spousal impoverishment protections where they can receive like additional asset and income protections. And actually, I believe this is the last slide because again, we just wanted to provide a super brief overview of the topics that we talk to, the people that call our organization. That way, if any of these topics come up in your conversations with your clients, you can have them give us a call for more information, or you can give us a call and we can teach you a little bit more about it. Are there any questions? And I'll stop sharing now.
Can you explain the difference between what you do and what an ombudsman does?
Yeah, so we actually work closely with ombudsmen. Ombudsmen are funded by the state to be resident advocates. They go to facilities, like physically go to the facilities to help negotiate resolutions between the facility and the resident. Whereas for us, we are a private nonprofit organization. We don't visit facilities in person. We provide information on long-term care residents' rights. So we'll tell people, this is how a discharge process should look. That doesn't look like it doesn't look like the facility went through the proper discharge process. Here's what you can do. But then we would usually hand that off and talk to the ombudsman about, hey, they need more support in talking to the facility, or maybe if you can go with them to the appeal hearing. So we work in conjunction with these agencies as more to provide, technical support, more like.
Colleen, you have a question?
I did. I wanted to get Arabelle's, I think she took it off too soon. I didn't copy all of her email
Oh,
information.
I can put that on the chat.
Could you put that up again, please? And
Yeah.
your phone number?
I can put it on the
We
chat.
don't have a
Okay.
direct phone number. We just have the consumer line or the 415 number. And so it directs you to our front desk and you can ask for either Bea or me.
Okay. I think this is some great information. And it seems like with Social Security, Medi-Cal, I get confused myself. It seems like it's always changing. So
Mhm.
anything that I embrace and try to learn myself in a couple of months will be outdated. Something else will.
Yeah.
So, but going back to what you had said about what Skip had asked about the ombudsman,
Ombudsman,
ombudsman, thank you very much.
Bud, B-U-D.
Every facility is supposed to have that posted for their consumer rights and so forth
Hmm.
in their facility. And I found, I can only speak for the state of Kansas, it's a crock. Because I've tried to call them many, many times, emailed them many, many times, no response. So that's why I was concerned about
Hmm.
you guys. You're nonprofit and you're independent of any government agency. Is that right?
Right. Mm-hmm.
Okay, okay, good, good.
So
Yeah.
I wanted to, with the ombudsman, a lot of them are volunteers.
They're all
And so,
volunteers.
yeah, but there are coordinators that are employed by the county or by the agency, but
Well, this
mainly are
was,
volunteers. So I think so I tell people when they call, I mean, the frustration is really common,
mhm.
and especially when there is, a safety issue. And so just keep that in mind. And just, what I would tell people is just follow up with them regularly. Just try to get someone on the phone and really impress to them that it is an emergency. And likely what happens too is that we do have direct contact with the coordinators, so the head of the program per county. And so if people have long delays, they can contact our 800 number, and hopefully we can touch base with the coordinator of that county and to be able to address the issue. Like they could have specific ombudsmen who are assigned to that facility visit the resident.
The one that I was referring to was under the umbrella of the Council of Aging
Yeah,
for
Mm.
that
yeah,
state. And
yes,
then they had the ombudsman's information,
yeah.
but I never got anything from
Ah,
anybody.
It
this,
actually
Ooh.
varies. It
yeah,
varies from state to state,
yeah.
actually from county to county. Here in Santa Clara County, the Catholic Charities runs the
Hmm.
Ombudsman program. We did a presentation on this. If you want to go back into the archives and watch the presentation we did with Ombudsman, you might see more of the details on that. But these are all volunteers. They represent the residents and their families in conflict resolution with the care facility they're in. They're only in skilled nursing and assisted living facilities, however, but
Yeah,
they are very important. But they don't have the legal clout, let's say. They act more as a arbitrator to, or a mediator maybe, to try to resolve the issues. It might be things like maybe the food's too salty, the air conditioning needs fixing and hasn't been done, and so on and so forth. While what CANHR is doing is more along the legal lines in the um, the system, let's say.
Policy for
Hmm.
sure. Yeah.
Hmm. Or do you do consumer facing like what you're doing for us? Because most of the client, I can speak for myself, they don't even approach this until there is a crisis. So if there is some education around this same topic early on with the senior as well as their adult children, because I had read somewhere that in 27 states, they're going to put this responsibility on the adult children for their long-term care. I don't think it's in California, but at those prices, that's going to be astronomical
mhm.
for a lot of people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, go
No,
ahead.
go ahead.
Okay. We do provide consumer education. However, it is limited mainly because we are a smaller organization. We're about 12 people, and so usually, when we do consumer education, it is when there are changes happening. So, in the last 2 years, with Medi-Cal specifically, and the other thing too is we are only California specific in terms of the
Mhm.
information we provide. There are some translation or like relevant federal rules as well, but we do focus just in California. Um, so, like in the last 2 years, there's been a lot of Medi-Cal changes, and so we've been doing a lot more consumer education there. But it also really depends on the demand. If we're getting a lot more questions about certain topics, we might do a presentation for that specific topic as well. But it is just dependent on our availability since we are a small organization.
And we
So
have several
if
people on here that are from different states. Can you
Mhm.
address what your sister facilities would be in those states?
There's no sister facility, so I think they do have, there are some advocacy organization in other states, but we're not affiliated with them. We're independent. So they would have to
Yeah.
seek something similar. I by referral. I know with certain like ombudsman, I think Consumer Voice might be a good resource to figure out if there are other organizations in other states similar to what CANHR does. CANHR is pretty special. What we do, it's pretty comprehensive. We have if consumers actually contact or the 1-800, they're going to get a person there. Sometimes I'm available if it's more legal related. I do want to, in terms of consumer education, our fact sheets are updated regularly. And so I encourage people that even if they can't get like a follow-up, consultation from me or anybody else, they can actually look at the fact sheets. And it's a really consumer friendly, and it has different topics. Within the umbrella of long-term care and elder law. So, and it's designed in a way to be able to provide the tools for people to self-advocate or advocate for their loved ones, because not everyone's going to get an attorney, and not every attorney. I mean, and this is a very niche area of law. It's elder law, and so it is a lot of people that are facing problems. They can actually do their own advocacy.
And I would suggest that people out of state contact your AAA to find out where the organization is in your
Mhm.
particular location that can do this. Also, another suggestion, you might want to look at some of the elder law attorneys that might be able to do presentations and education on
Yeah.
this type of thing, and check out what's on YouTube.
Good.
Yeah, I think NALA too, National
Yeah,
Association of Elder Law Attorneys. That's
yeah,
another
yeah.
source. And AARP.
Oh, good
Yeah,
point. Yeah,
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 yeah.
yeah. Duh.
Very good.
Roni?
I
Yeah,
see your hand is up, but I have one question. So if we do our own consumer-facing education webinars or similar, or if we do even in-person education, could we use those documents that you guys publish as our lesson plans?
Yeah.
Or if you
Definitely.
have resources for that, like if I called you up and say, I'm going to have a webinar, can you send me, a lesson or whatever you guys, because we want to make sure that what we're talking about in person or on a webinar is accurate and current.
Hmm.
And then, of course, we would refer them to the organization, to your organization, as the authority. So if that would be possible.
Yeah, maybe if that's the case, we can take it case by case. Just because, like, for example, Medi-Cal eligibility, there's so many intricacies to it that even with our fact sheets definitely go over all of the details that pertain to Medi-Cal. But if you're going to be presenting it too, maybe just check in with us to see if maybe one of us would be available to accompany you.
Sure,
Um,
yeah.
or,
We
yeah.
have Medi-Cal specialists as well,
Oh,
like,
great. Yeah.
certified,
Mm.
all the whole thing. But just as an overview for CANHR to be a tool and a
Yeah,
resource and to teach, to and inform,
definitely.
especially the advocacy part. That's where we come in because we're fiduciaries, we're advocates as
Mhm.
well. Okay, Roni, go ahead.
yeah. I just had a question in terms of referrals and how do you get your clients and how do you handle referrals?
How we get our clients really, it's from a variety of sources. It's all very we pop up on Google when you search up, elder law or Medi-Cal and everything like that. So on our website, there's a request for an attorney referral. And so they would usually submit it through there. We're not able to solicit referrals either. So because we're a California State Bar certified referral service. So we're not able to solicit referrals. People have to come to us naturally. So typically the majority of the requests we get are from online, or sometimes for ombudsman, for example, if they are helping someone who experienced an egregious injury in a facility, the ombudsman will say you should probably call CANHR, and then it's up to the family member or the resident to do that. And then when they request the referral, they'll either go through me if it's regarding estate planning, my colleague Helen Halderson if it's regarding a personal injury situation in a facility, or if it's elder financial abuse, Arabelle will take those calls. And then we screen the requests to make sure that it's an appropriate referral, because what we also want to make sure is that, the attorneys are very selective about the cases they accept. So we want to make sure that this is a case that is likely going to be accepted by the attorney, and that if it's not, we give the person another resource to call. So that way it doesn't waste people's time. So yeah, unfortunately, it's not guaranteed that the attorney will take it. It does depend on the screening process.
Now, is it all private pay?
It is, yeah. Yeah.
And do you have like a minimum retainer?
No, it's gonna depend on the attorney. So for the estate planning side, at least, there's the initial consultation fee, which can range from like $400 to $900, and then there's their hourly fees for services. If it's regarding like establishing a trust, I know our estate planning attorneys usually charge like a flat fee for that, and that can range from 1,300 to 3,000. For personal injury claims, our attorneys take it on contingency.
Okay.
Yeah. So, but for elder financial abuse, it can either be contingency or hourly. I think it just depends on the case itself.
But you do have a consultation fee.
For the
The
attorneys,
attorneys
yeah. So
do.
I don't have it. So we don't have like, there's a distinction, right, between clients, because we don't take clients. We're not direct services provider. There
Okay.
is a lawyer referral panel with private attorneys where people can request an attorney for their specific matter. And then there are certain CANHR staff will screen those whether or not it satisfy the eligibility for referral.
So, all right. So let me see. So I guess somebody will come to you and then you guys would refer them to an attorney. Is that it?
Right.
Oh,
If we would screen the request first to make sure that it is a case that our attorneys will likely accept. And then
okay.
if so, then we would refer it. Yeah.
Okay. And the attorneys, are they affiliated with you or not?
They apply to be on the lawyer referral service, so we do vet them and they're qualified, but they have their own private practice.
The referral service.
Yes,
Thank
it's a referral service. Yeah, so it's similar.
you. I
It's
got it.
with County Bar Association,
I got it. I got it.
have
That's
their
all you had to
referral
say.
service. Yes.
That's all you had to say. Thank you.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah, I didn't get what CANHR stood for. I got
Uh,
California and I got home
no
nursing home.
problem. It stands for California Advocates for Nursing Home Reform.
Oh, nursing home reform.
Hmm.
Okay,
And
great.
it's a little
To everybody to go to the website. The information's in the bulletin as well, and they've put it in the chat. Go to that website, spend some time looking at it, because there are so many options for resources and paths that we could utilize, and we just need to know for our knowledge base. That is a very comprehensive website.
I had one other comment, and that is something of a client that I had placed in a care facility. And I went with her on her initial intake, and they told her, uh, and that was because she's independent. She didn't need all those services. So her rate was acceptable. But when the next following year, which was March of 26, when her rate went up, she was talking about leaving. But I remember at the intake, they said, regardless of her status, and she was on long-term care, she could stay there for the rest of her life. And I'm thinking at some point, even her long-term care may run out.
Hmm.
So would she then transition to Medi-Cal, Medicare?
It depends on what type of facility she was in. So if she was already in a skilled nursing facility, for
No, no,
example,
she's skilled. She's independent.
oh,
Independent
independent.
living slash assisted living. She
Okay,
hasn't gotten to the assisted yet.
yeah. In California, assisted living is usually not covered. There's usually no income or payment assistance for assisted living facilities. It's primarily private pay.
Yeah.
And so Medicare wouldn't provide coverage, and then Medi-Cal, it could possibly provide coverage if she meets the specific program's income limits as well. So
Okay.
it depends. Mm-hmm.
Because they described it as her forever home. She wouldn't have to leave.
It sounds like it's a CCRC. It's a continuing care retirement community. So it does have the different types of facilities. So independent living, assisted living, and memory care, and then
Right.
sometimes they'll have a skilled nursing facility.
Okay.
However, it does really depend on the person's needs, and they do get assessed. And
Okay.
it's you she probably has to really look at the admissions agreement to see what it says, because as their needs increase, there will be more money. It's not going to be set up, but there are different types of contracts in CCRCs.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Awesome. That was a lot of information. So valuable for us in our toolbox. That's amazing. I really appreciate your time and your participation with us as a group. We're going to keep you as a resource. You're going to be in our systems now forever. So I
Sounds
really
good.
appreciate that. If anybody else has any comments or questions,
Well, thank
Next
you so much.
week,
next week is going to be amazing week as well. And Bea and Arabelle, listen, what the guest we're having next week is going to be, his name's Dan Brotman, and he's going to talk about retirement overseas. So overseas retirement and how to facilitate that for yourself as an option. So expats all over the world. How exciting is that going to be? Oh, and I will tell you, just recently, just for the good of the order here, and I put this in our group, on our Facebook group, SRES Pacific. We have a colleague, her name's Jewel. She's from San Diego. Right now, she's involved with a group that is creating a new kind of CCRC in the Philippines. I'm doing a webinar with her in August 25th. So I'm going to gather all that information. It's brand new information, brand new CCRC development in the Philippines. I'm really looking forward to this new perspective for CCRC and the location. So I'm excited about that.
and don't forget
Michelin,
they're trying to change the name of CCRC to Life Plan Communities.
yeah, life plan
So
communities, correct. Yep.
both mean the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
That's very
Yep.
good.
Very nice.
Okay, Michelin, real quick, go ahead.
The question, I thought I had it down on my calendar and I want to confirm it, that the tour to Brentwood is on the 27th, Thursday.
Yeah, I'll be confirming that later on today. So I just got back from the conference, so I'm just catching up with myself.
Okay.
All right,
Julie.
everybody.
Julie, hold on. I have a quick question.
Yeah,
It-
go ahead.
Hi. Real quick, thank you for all the information, B, and your attorney. You mentioned something about total assets. Are you including the house? What does
No.
that what
Yeah,
does
sorry.
that
I should have clarified that. In California, the home, the principal residence, is not included in the asset limit. So it's not going to be considered during eligibility. Any other properties owned, though, would be counted towards the asset limit.
One car also is eliminated.
Right.
One
So
automobile.
the home, one car, retirement accounts that the person is receiving distributions from, the value of the retirement account is unavailable, and therefore not considered for eligibility purposes as well.
so retirement accounts aren't included?
Correct, as long as the person is receiving payments from it.
Okay. And then that's confusing. If they're receiving payments, wouldn't that be part of the 130,000?
The payments would be considered income, but the value of like the 401k or the IRA itself wouldn't count towards the asset limit. It is confusing, though, I will say that. But that's the way the Medi-Cal rules work, unfortunately.
Okay. And then the other question is, what about Kaiser or other HMOs like Kaiser? How does that work in terms of the the rehab and the 21 to 100 days and the first 21 days? How's that work when people
As
go out of the hospital into rehab?
So typically, if someone has Medicare, for example, either through Kaiser or another health plan, and we're not experts in the Medicare aspect of this by any means. You can typically call your high cap organization for that. Um, they're Medicare counselors, but typically Medicare covers day 1 to day 20, 100% without any copays for the resident. Day 21 to 100, there's usually a co-insurance. I think Arabelle mentioned that it was about 207 or so per day. So it can get pretty expensive. If they have Medi-Cal though, Medi-Cal will pick up that co-insurance. And the way Medi-Cal works in conjunction with all of these other insurances is that Medi-Cal is always the payer of last resort. So they pick up whatever the other insurances don't pick up. And I do have a hard stop at 12:50 just because I have an in-person meeting in 10 minutes right now.
Yeah.
Thank you.
But I have included my email as well as Arabelle's email in the chat. So if there's any follow-up questions, feel free to give us a call.
Thank you
Right.
so much. We really appreciate it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank
Okay.
you.
Bye now.
All right, everybody. Thank you so much for being here this week. We'll see everybody next week. Have a great week.
Bye.
Have a blessed week. Thank you.